Hi, I'm Minato Aquila, and today I have a few announcements. One of them being is that I cut my hair. I know, I go MIA for like a few months. I actually have no idea how long it's been since I last posted, but MIA for a few months and suddenly I have short hair and I look like a lesbian. A lesbian grandma at that. But that was the goal. I wanted to look like a lesbian grandma. I'm not a lesbian grandma, but the point's there. Another announcement is that I now have a site. The reason for this is I really wanted a site that was purely for me to use, that was kind of supposed to be used as a Wattpad or an AO3. So it's like an AO3 or a Wattpad, but just for me to use. Well, write on, anyway. I also wanted to use it as a way to help with plot bunnies because... Do we see how small I am? I don't have very much creative space in my head. Not saying I don't have any. I'm really smart and creative and awesome. But sometimes as a writer, we always run into plot bunnies or writer's block. And on my threads, I had asked why we have writer's block, because writer's block is very hard to deal with when you're trying to get a book done. And one of my mutuals stated that a way for them to help with plot bunnies was to just write simple short stories. So I took that idea and I was like, you know what? That's a really good idea. Short stories. Who doesn't love a short story? And what better way than to write little fanfics of my own characters, right? It also helps that this can be a really good way for me to market my own stories. I wrote my first book when I was 12, and it has been out since then, since 2022. And she's not very lively since then. 2022 to 2025, that's like 3 years, buddy. She's not very lively. She's a little not fresh. She's not rotten, okay? She's not rotten, but she's not fresh either. And since she is my only first book, Betrayal, she's my only book right now. Back to the main idea, I really wanted to use my new site, shortstoryau.com, as a way to write short stories or just make stories in general when I have nothing else to write about or I just simply have writer's block. Ever since writing my second book, it's been a little hard with writer's block because when I started writing it, I didn't necessarily have all that I needed to know about it. I just kind of wrote like a few profiles, what I wanted, what I thought it was going to be about, and then I just started writing. With more experience, I have realized that it is better to outline everything else before you start it. So profiling your characters, knowing what the story is about, knowing... I forgot what I was saying. Point is, I have my struggles. And Short Story AU is personally a really good direction to go in with this whole author thing. So I just wanted to announce that I do have a site that you can go to now that you can check out to read short stories that I write. It is fairly new though, so you're not really gonna get much stories, or so just introductions. So I have a little introduction to my current with my current work in progress, stuck in Lamex, so it's really just the description of that book. I have a intro / about me, about Minato Aquila, me, and I have one other short story on there. It's the only published one right now. It's just a Clover / Liam romance AU. Because if you don't already know, in my book Betrayal, I wrote a little side couple, Liam and Clover, apart from Elijah and... Who are the couples again? Aside from the other couples, the main couple is Clover and Liam. I don't think they actually ever got together, but I do think that they shared a kiss, so it's technically canon. So I have a little short story about them on my page, Short Story AU. And of course, other short stories will go on as it grows. Even though I've already mentioned this, I am on Threads now because girl needs to market. Bro needs followers, you know? Can't sell a book if you got no readers. Point is, if you like my content, go check out Threads, go check out Short Story AU, check out my Instagram, check out Twitter, Facebook. I don't think I use Facebook anymore. I don't think Facebook is a really good marketplace. A place for marketing. But if you're interested, then go check those out. I appreciate it a lot. One other announcement though, I know, one more. Crazy, she's got a lot to talk about. I no longer want to identify as a Christian. What? You're not a Christian anymore? Why are you turning atheist? Hold up, I didn't say atheist. I didn't say I was converting. I just don't want to identify as a Christian. I am simply a person who has a relationship with God. My relationship literally has nothing to do with anybody else. That is just between me and God, and I want to share that with just me and God. But I do want you to know that I do have a relationship with God. I believe in the Bible, and I've tried to follow the Bible. Well, point is, I have a relationship with God, and I just want that to be between me and God. If I need advice, I'll go to the Bible. I got God. I also have my family members I can go to. I simply am just not going to identify as Christian, nor am I going to put it out into the world like that, because especially on the internet, Christianity is just blurred. Nobody knows what it is anymore. Not to mention, people like to make up their own things about Christianity, and sometimes it just doesn't fit in with what I believe and what I trust. For example, like denominations, that's just not biblical. Denominations aren't biblical. It literally says not to be divided. Well, God doesn't want us divided. We're all part of the church. So if I were to say I'm Christian, they're gonna ask, what denomination? And I'm gonna be like, none. I also don't want to explain what a non-denominational is. That just sounds like its own category of what Christian is. So, going back, I'm just a person who has a relationship with God. Him and I have our troubles, and that is all anybody needs to know. If you have questions though, I will explain those. I will probably continue on with explaining different topics of Christianity and calling it Christianity because it's recognized as Christianity. So you can tell that I have curtains now. I can't have that natural light anymore. Hence why I'm using a light. That's what that is. A ring light, because I can't have natural light anymore. And I also can't do it over at my desk because there's no outlets I can use that are available. Only one is on my dresser, so like you're on my dresser, technically. But I think that's it for announcements and just overall explanations with things. If you have questions, let me know on any sort of platform, on YouTube, on all that 50 other platforms. That's it for now. I will see you when I get back. Also, do we want me to make a intro, or do I just roll with a no intro? Let me know.